had a website, but it was almost like a vanity project back then. Now it is like an entrance fee to have a business.
Good. Hey, I wanted to let you know that the Google guarantee, the Google ads, man, I'm getting 12 to 16 calls a week.
My goal is at least do 10 to 15 more years, grow it up, sell it for 40, 50 million, maybe more.
All right. I'm Sam from Top Line Pro, and this is Titan Talks. This week, we're talking to Kevin from Kevin's Tree Service. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing good. It's Anstaett's Tree Service.
Oh, that's my bad. I've been looking at the site all day, and I got the name wrong.
That's all good.
It's great talking to you, and I'll start off the way that you usually do, which is asking about your origin story. How did you get started in the business?
So it's really kind of it's a weird story, but so when I found my niche for stump grinding, I was working for this landscaping company, and we ended up doing a lot of stump grinding, and that's what I spent most of my time doing. Well, they ended up cutting my hours, and I went from 40 to 60 hours a week to like 20. And this is in the middle of the summer. So I ended up at that time I had to pay my bills. So I had access to the keys to their truck. I know this sounds crazy, but I mean, this has been 13, 14 years ago, so it doesn't really matter now. But I took their keys and I would take their truck and I'd make sure I'd fill it up. But I would literally go door to door, and I would sell myself. This is how I kind of got into the salesman, being able to talk to people. I would sell stumps, doing their stumps. I would sell that. And so that's how I would actually make extra money to pay my bills. But one thing that I noticed whenever I was on the clock is when I got these sheets, sometimes they wouldn't redact or, remove the tree portion of the contracts. And I just noticed that there was so much money involved with the tree industry. And I didn't realize at that time how dangerous the work actually was. But I ended up saying to myself, I'm going to get into the tree industry, and that's what I want to do, because I want a part of that, that money there. So I basically took $150 at the time, and bought my first trim saw, my first hand-me-down rope, and a really crappy saddle and set of spikes. And I started tackling, small random tree jobs. And I wanted to get into it more, heavier. So I ended up calling this company, and I basically just told them who I was and that I had very little experience and but I was willing to learn. I had my own gear. And of course, they called me back the next day, and they said, if you show up at 7 a.m., we'll start you. Well, I showed up, and they basically, with no experience, just threw me in the biggest trees that they could and told me to go at it. So the rest is history. I really am self-taught. There was not a lot of teaching there. There was a little, because it's kind of funny, because my wife's cousin actually was in the tree industry also. So he kind of molded me a little bit, kind of showed me some new age stuff, and the rest is kind of history from there.
So to summarize, it sounds like you were working under another business, saw that there was an opening, an opportunity to make a bit more money if you just promoted yourself a little bit more, and then entered into tree services just kind of based on what you saw. And you said, I can do this. I can get up there, even though it's a bit dangerous, and do it myself.
Well, the funny thing is I was actually petrified, completely terrified of heights. And that's one thing that I learned, that I was scared to death of heights once I actually started climbing the trees. But you grow out of it. You really, I mean, don't get me wrong, you still have to respect the heights. You're never really not scared, but you have it's you. I'm comfortable up in the trees now. We're opposed to like when I first started, I was scared to death. Like knees knocking, I didn't really trust my gear because I really didn't know what to do. So, but once I kind of got the hang of it, I excelled in a 5 year period that takes most people 15 years. And now that I've been doing it 15 years, I probably have the equivalency to someone who's been in the industry 40 years because like I've just accomplished so much in the industry and we are strictly manual climbers. We don't use buckets. We don't use lifts. We will use cranes on really nasty trees that, can't be manually climbed safely. Like you might die if you get up there and try to rope the stuff out because
Yeah.
some people just let their trees go. But yeah, in a nutshell, I was just tired of making the bare minimum, man. Someone paying me $10 an hour to go kill myself every day. And I actually worked for a few different companies. Like I even bounced around. I went to Davy, and then I partnered with another company that actually offered, 50% of whatever we made, and then I paid them out of my portion. But you know, when you can go to another company and work for them and use your skill set and still make $200,000 for the year, I mean, that's still pretty impressive. So I took that opportunity and over a 5 year period, I just saved as much money as I could. And then there was a sour business deal that went, sideways between me and that guy. And I basically I told him, I'm like, I can do all this myself. I don't need, you're taking 50% of everything for nothing. And we're the ones that are coming out here and killing ourselves. So I'm going to just go out here and make the 100% and then pay my taxes and payroll and stuff like that.
And was that harder than you expected? All the stuff that wasn't actually going out there and dealing with the trees, was that more than
It,
you expected?
it's tough. It's tough. I mean, you got to think like before when I was partnered with him, they were doing the estimates, they were dealing with the insurance, they were dealing with if something went wrong. Now, 90% of the time, nothing went wrong with our crew. I mean, let's face it, you can't make everyone happy, but there's always somebody that complains about something. I mean, uh, even though it's black and white contract, somebody will say that we didn't do something, but it's whatever. But it's tough. So once I started taking on 100% responsibility, I'm and this is what I've been doing for the last you got to think I left them approximately 2 years ago. Anstaett Tree Service has been in business, or around since 2013, but we've never been full fledged on our own without a partner. Um, so we've been on and off with partners this whole time, and it just never really worked. So once my wife basically said, "Look, you got enough money to do what you need to do, buy the equipment. You should just do it on your own." Every day, I'm on every job site.
Wow.
I go out and then there's days that we work 10, 12 hours, sometimes 16 hours. I don't get to do the estimates, but the next day that I have a little bit of time, I'm running estimates until 8, 9 o'clock, or I'm doing something that isn't in regard to the company. Um, it's hard to do it all on your own. But I have a good group of guys that are around me. None of my guys are on drugs. But I pay them very well though. You cannot have good help and you cannot have good help or not have good help and not pay them what they should be entitled, and sometimes you got to pay them a little more than what you think they're worth. Like some guys, owners want to pay their guys $10 an hour or $8 an hour, bare minimum, or even $15 an hour. I start my guys at a 20 with no experience. And then, my climbers, um, they'll make 300 to potentially 300 to $600 easily a day. So my payroll is it's high, but when you generate the money that we can, it really it doesn't matter. You can still make plenty of money. There's plenty of meat on the bone for everybody. but it's tough. It's tough to do it all. I'm doing the estimates. I'm on every job site. I'm working on equipment. I'm sharpening saws. And then I got a 4-year-old and a wife. I got to be a husband and a father too. So you got to make the family time too.
Absolutely, yeah. Why don't you give us a picture of the business today? Just like how many employees, how many jobs, a week roughly, and I guess where is a lot of that business coming from?
So right now we are booked out until the first week of January. That's 5 days a week. Um, we work every day unless it rains. And then we sometimes will. I try to tell the people that we have to reschedule, which is, I mean, thankfully we haven't had to reschedule a bunch of people this year, but if we do, we normally will hit them on a weekend, or we'll even double dip and do a couple people if we had to, like, say we had 2 rain days in a row. But um, we're solidly booked until January. I have 3 other guys, including myself. So I just run a 4-man crew. Um, but see, with that 4-man crew, I'm running either 1 or 2 mini skids. We have a monster chipper. It's a Vermeer 1800. So it'll eat a 20-inch tree. Basically, you could take a 50-foot tree that's 20 inches and stick it in the butt end of this chipper, and it will eat it while you walk away.
Wow.
And it automatically eats this thing.
Do you have a video of that up on the site?
Actually, I do have a video of it, but it's funny because I'm like right here. So
Wow, look at that thing.
yeah, it's a monster.
Very, very cool.
And we actually just purchased this. That's our second chipper.
Okay. I was gonna ask this later, but what do you do with all the wood chips? You must generate a ton.
We do. So we actually, over the years, we generate so much material. We used to just dump at a place called Bezak's down in Milford, around where I'm from. And they started, I mean, it was free, but now that there's so many companies trying to start, there's so much material going there, they charge you about $4,000 a year. Um, but there's a really cool app that was created. It's called Chip Drop.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
And you have.
Yes.
Okay. Well, cool. Chip Drop is very useful in my area. So I just basically type in the address that I'm going to be working at, and it shows me if there's any houses that are in the area. But over the last 5 years, I've really, I have a network now, people I've met through Chip Drop, and I have them saved in our contacts. So if I'm in Amelia, I have pretty much someone that I can dump at every time. If I'm in Williamsburg, I've got 4 or 5 people I can dump at anytime. We've got plenty of people that will take the material, um, now that we have networked over the last, 5 years or so.
Okay. So using Chip Drop as a bit of a segue, how does technology affect your business? Obviously you're a top line pro user, but just sort of generally, like, what role does technology play for you?
So there's a lot of different programs you can use for like estimates and stuff. So people just really have to find what's easy for them. Cause I have guys that I'm friends with, they like to use like QuickBooks, or they like to use this app or that app. I specifically I like Joist. And that's really not even a tree app or anything like that. That's just but it's easy because they keep everything organized. I mean, your year to date money, the invoices are immediate, the estimates are immediate. Like, the reason that I've been able to sell so much work, not only because Topline has really, innovated and pushed my business on Google and post on social media when I don't even have to do anything. Um, but Joist allows me to send things immediate. Um, and there's other apps that do it too, but for me, it what separates me from the other guys is no, I just left someone yesterday. I was competing against Davey. while I was there, I was doing the estimate. The woman flat out told me, she's like, I have a couple other people coming. Davy's coming today at 4. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Let's do our thing. I sent the estimate over. Well, she had already previously had Davy there. And she was so impressed with how fast I had the estimate over. Normally it takes them another day or 6 hours or whatever. Whenever I was there, she got it within, 10 seconds before I left. She went ahead and told me, like, I'm basically going to let Davey come here and do his spiel, but let's go ahead and schedule. I want to sign with you now. Like, punctuality means everything. When someone gets a hold of you, especially with top line, I love whenever how you guys have it set up with my website. Like, as soon as someone submits the info, it's right to me. So now I have my wife, who is basically now my receptionist. As soon as that comes through, she's already putting them and submitting them into Joist, which is my contracting app.
Yeah.
And so that way, when I get there, I just pull their stuff up and I just start typing. I don't have to submit anything. It's already there. But the cool thing is as soon as I get that notification, sometimes it'll be an hour or so because I'll be climbing, or I'll be doing something else with the business that I can't, respond right away. But most of the time I'll get it. And I usually just click on their phone number and I'll call them up immediately. And wow, I just submitted it, so that's where a lot of our work really comes from. I sell myself before I even get onto the job site.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Like, you differentiate yourself by, it's like not just the quality of the work, but like people want to know that there's a real person on the
Promptness.
other end and that they're ready to come do the job as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. And I hear all the time from clients that sign with me, like, I reached out to this guy 2 weeks ago that had good reviews, but I haven't heard anything back from him. I've called him 4 times and left him, you know, however many voicemails. You from jump, you called me right away. You answered my questions. You were very prompt. And normally once I have a client locked in, we have them for life. They're not going to call somebody else.
So it almost, I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, but it sounds like in a lot of cases, people who haven't worked with a tree service before are probably reaching out to multiple, pros within the area. And it's really from that lead forward where you can sort of, win the job by being on top of your game and getting back to them and giving them a good estimate.
Oh, absolutely. But see, here's the thing about the tree industry. It's different than any other industry in the entire world. When a comment that you just made about they're calling other pros, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's a statistic in my area. 90% of the people that do my job in my area are unqualified, they're uneducated, they can't show proof of workman's compensation, and they cannot show proof of insurance. And that's crazy to me. So are they really calling a pro?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the thing that separates and allows us to continue to be booked for, we've been booked for 8 weeks plus for almost 3 months now.
Wow.
And normally, like, I'm friends with all kinds of different tree owners. Well, not really friends, just acquaintances.
Mhm.
Some friends, but they're working day to day or week to week. And they're blowing me up, asking me, how are you getting this much work, or how are you booked until January? Like, what are you doing different? Well, I'm not going to give away every secret that I have, because I'm not going to start competing with rum dums in my area, but I can tell you that if you are prompt, you can sell yourself before you even get there, because people have had so many experiences with contractors that are not on time. Their communication is terrible. They want all the money up front or half the money up front. We don't require any money up front.
Mhm.
You only pay us whenever the job is completed and you are 100% satisfied. And I haven't been stiffed once. since our creation.
Gotcha. That's awesome to hear. Let's talk about marketing a little bit. Getting people in the door into that process where they're requesting an estimate. What do you feel like works? How are most people hearing about you? Is it a lot of word of mouth? Is it a lot of repeats? Where people
We, we have a ton of repeats. And then they're so happy. They tell their friends. Word of mouth is a huge, is huge in, for us, a part of our business.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I, I did try to use somebody, at the beginning of the year. I wanted to get started a little earlier. And like I said, some winters are really hit and miss. Some winters will be bone dry for 3 months until people are going outside. Then there's other winters that we work, 5 days a week. Um, Last winter was kind of, so I wanted to get started, get a little jump on it, especially spending the money that I did on the equipment. I
Yeah.
wanted to get a little head start. So I did use a company. You see all these Facebook ads about people like generating leads and stuff like this. And, I did use them. It was like 2,000 a month. They did generate like 10,000 a week. Um, but then near the end, we were getting more referrals and people generic stuff for us and what we've done in the past, word of mouth, repeat clients, where it wasn't really worth paying them anymore. Um, what's really worked for us is just making sure that we do a good job. When we're finished, we clean up the yard to where you can't tell we were there.
Mm,
We go as far as I spent like $6,000 on ground protection mats. So like when it's raining, and there are guys that don't go out, we're working. So we're laying these mats down and we can drive our minis across the ground and we're not even doing damage to the yard. And when we're done, people can't even believe that we were there. Like we, you have to set yourself apart from the people that are in your area. You just have to. If you do the same things that everybody else does, you don't really invest into yourself and you got to spend the money. You have to spend the money.
right.
Like I know plenty of other companies that just keep running the same busted equipment. And they just fix it when it breaks. Whereas then I'll go out and I'll not only fix something, I'll buy a second, like I'll buy a backup. I have a backup mini. We bought a brand new one this year. So we have our our original though is it's a newer one. I'm not gonna run something that's old and I know it's hard to get parts for, but we have a backup mini, we have a backup chipper. We have a backup, dump trailer, we have a backup 2,500 with airbags that takes the wood out. Like I set myself up so I don't fail. Because you have a detrimental piece of equipment go down, like a chipper, well, what are you going to do the next 2 weeks until it's actually fixed? Are you going to go rent one for $2,500 a week and lose money? So we've actually invested close to $325,000 into our company this year, so that next year, once we buy our second chip truck, we won't have any downtime at all. There will be zero downtime.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. It's a big investment, but it's, on a rainy day, so to speak, like it's going to pay off being prepared, it sounds like.
100%.
How about online? Do you have a similar sort of philosophy? Like, with Top Line Pro, you mentioned that you really appreciate like the immediate sort of booking notifications. What other stuff have you found helpful and what have you found about your online presence that you really liked?
Well, when I first started using you guys, there, I was impressed with the platform, but always somebody always comes along and says they got greater and better things. So I think there was even a period where I tried to like switch to a different company and I called you guys and I told you what was happening. Cause as a man, that's who I am. I'm not going to just dump you and say like, hey, screw you guys. But I tried to dip my toes in other water and it just wasn't it. Other people can claim that they have a superior product, but in reality, when they're trying to tell me that your stuff's cookie cutter and this, that, and the other, and they can build me something greater, and then you give them the opportunity and they just botch it like completely. And my 3-year-old could have done better, and she does, she's 3. Um, um, m- what I really like about Top Line is the loyalty. Like whenever I came back, there was no hostility. Um, there was no like, uh, I didn't feel uneasy or, out of place still. Like you guys were welcoming. And then, what you guys do with Facebook posts, like where I don't even have to really manage my business profile. I can, cause I take advantage of using my personal profile also. Cause I like to post videos of the stuff that we do out here. Not like just clips of trees dropping and stuff, but full on fledged like videos, clips of us doing a full removal. Um, and what I really like about Top Line is that you guys will, post for me on my behalf. If I don't like it, I can change it, edit it. I can talk to you guys. It's not hard to get a hold of you because I can just text the number. Somebody's usually within 20 minutes at the max, somebody's, responding within business hours, of course. But um, I don't advertise or nothing, but what you guys have done is I feel like after I started using you guys for my website design and we really started bringing in the business and staying on top of our Google reviews, I really realized how much impact using a website team like you guys have really impacted us. So, I've been asked by so many other companies to switch and try them. And after that first experience, and clearly you guys are doing something right on the other end, keeping my SEO. I think it's the SEO, right?
Yeah.
The search optimization, right?
Absolutely.
You guys keep that, up to par. And so when people are typing my name in, or not my name, but just tree service near me, I'm popping up in the first, top 5. And when someone sees that we have 338, 5-star reviews opposed to someone who's been in business for claims 25 years and they've got 20, they're calling me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's important to be able to be found for the people that, are looking for good service. And, we appreciate that, we're able to deliver for you the way that you deliver for your customers. So, that's great to hear. Um, let's, let's move forward looking at the future a little bit. You said you've been in business for, you've been doing this for 15 years.
Mhm.
You think the next 10 years look like for you? Are you looking to grow? Are you looking to just like sort of sustain?
So this is like, I don't really know exactly where I want to be with it right now because I'm content with where I'm at now. And I'll tell you why. I have a buddy that runs an HVAC company and he's big. I mean, well, at one point he was big. He has a big name. Um, and at one point he was running like 20 guys. Um, a bunch of trucks, 20 guys. They were doing like 10 million a year. Um, and basically I did a tree job for him and we were talking, just BSing about, how work was and stuff. And at that time, I think we were just like 3 weeks out or something. And he mentioned to me, he was like, stay small, man. He said, stay small. He said, I make more money running 5 guys than I ever did running them 20 because I have so many headaches and problems and I have to go back to jobs and do this and fix that. He said, we make more money running 5 guys than I ever did running the 20. So I'm kind of in the middle here. I think we're going to stay small, but we still want to build ourselves to be um, basically a household name in this area. The greater Cincinnati area, everybody has heard of us already, but I want to be where we're a top choice, where people are willing to wait no matter what. Like we just left a job the other day. I did an estimate for this guy who was recommended. It was a word of mouth. He's had very bad experiences in the past. This tree uprooted, slammed through his barn, and is on top of all of his farm equipment.
Yikes.
Well, I basically told him, like, look, man, we're so slammed, I can't do nothing for you. You might have to call someone else. He said, nope, I'll leave the tree exactly where it is. We're going to wait for you. So he's literally waiting 2 months for us to get out there. I told him if I could free up some time, we'll get out there sooner, but I have him a designated day. It when you're making an impact like that, where people are willing to wait no matter what the
Yeah.
circumstance, you know you're doing something right.
Absolutely. That's a really good story. Like, uh, I bet that
Right.
felt good to hear.
Yeah, I was pretty. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Like I was really surprised. I'm like, you're really gonna wait with this massive tree on your barn? He's like, well, it ain't. It's already busted. It ain't going nowhere.
Um, all right. So what would you say is the bit you said you learned a lot sort of on your own in that first 5 years, especially, talking since we're on the podcast to other pros out there, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned, with your experience?
Um, the lesson that I've learned is that sometimes you have to learn to let go. Um, I am the type of person that wants to micromanage everything. And if you want to keep good help around, um, you have to pay them well. Even if you don't think they deserve it, man, pay them. Show them that they will be more willing to bust their tail for you
Yeah.
and go out and make you the money you're wanting to make if you will pay them. And if you don't think they deserve it, teach them. You gotta be willing to teach. But letting go is a big thing.
Heading towards the end here, we usually end with like a couple rapid fire questions. You down for that? Just sort of answer.
My life's rapid fire. Let's do it.
Love that. All right. So what's your goal? Why are you doing all this with the business?
Well, my goal, I mean, ultimately is to make as much money as I can on this earth, and leave my daughter and wife with something. I want to create something that will withstand my time. When I'm gone, I still want the Anstaett name to continue. Maybe it's something that my daughter can take over or manage, maybe not run, full on run herself, but maybe she could. Um, I just feel like my end goal is to create something for the managing members that are a part of my team to have an experience that can impact their families, provide for their families, and also, um, you know, provide a service that that is talked about in my region pertaining to the tree industry.
I like that. All right. So speaking of your daughter, I saw some photos. I think it's like you and her like on the wood chipper together. Does she like coming to occasionally to, see you at work?
Yeah. So my anytime that we have crane jobs, she like is in love with my crane operator that I use. His name's David Moore, Moore's Crane Service out of Batavia. But he's a good friend of mine, and she loves coming out and seeing the crane. And it's funny because my wife takes her to preschool in the mornings, and she has to drive right by his office or by his shop.
Yeah.
And every morning they drive past that, she wants to roll the window down and scream Dave out the window. Even if she can't, he said sometimes he hears her, but yeah, she loves to come out. It's always, can I go out with dad, or let's go see dad? And sometimes she'll bring her we have her a little like steel chainsaw toy and she'll come out and act like she's cutting branches. And yes, it's a cool experience being a dad and having her at that age and seeing her out here. I want her to be involved and want her to see, come out here. I'll let her stand on the platform of my mini skid and stuff sometimes when I'm driving around and I'm not lifting any heavy stuff. She loves to be around the work site, and she loves my guys too. I mean, my guys are constantly, hi Paxton, and so seeing her interactive with my guys and stuff like that, that means a lot to me.
That's awesome. Okay, I want to end on, or maybe end, but come back to something you said at the beginning, because I thought it was pretty cool that you were afraid of heights and then you just kind of persevered and eventually you got used to it. And you said you still have a respect for, the heights and the trees that you're in, but do you think that anyone could do that, like get over their fear? Do you think it applies to all fears or just heights? What do you think?
I do think that anybody can do anything they put their mind to. I will say that there is a very low percentage of people that can do our job. And I say that respectfully. Um, you have landscapers and stuff that will say they do tree work, but like their insurance only covers up to like 10 or 15 feet. And they use ladders and stuff. But there's a reason that, statistically, our job is, been 1 and 2 for like the last 15 years, highest death per capita of people, participating for a reason. I do think that people can conquer their fears, but in the tree industry, it's just a little different because it's so unpredictable. You have to really have a determination and willingness, to push yourself. Because I've seen plenty of people come and go in my time that say, "Oh, well, I want to learn how to climb." Well, they climb twice and then they basically say, "Screw that."
Yeah.
Once you get past 20 feet, it's over. They're done. They're like, well, "I'm not doing this." And I know plenty of climbers that climb for 5 years and they retired and they don't climb anymore. They won't climb anymore. Can it be done? Absolutely. I mean, I did it. You just really have to have the willingness and the drive. Um, in a nutshell, you can do anything that you put your mind to. You just have to have the gumption to follow through with it.
I think that's a good theme to end on. Thanks so much for coming on Titan Talks, Kevin from Anstaett Tree Service. Hope you have a good rest of the week. Any closing remarks?
I just want to thank Topline for everything that they've done for me so far, and I'm looking forward to the future and seeing what it holds.
Appreciate that. Well, thanks for coming on.
See you later, man.